And I know we got lots of questions and I got lots of answers for you. So let me get started. Hello, everybody. It's been an interesting morning for me. Just taught a class for AGLA, the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles. Got some inside information. So I'm excited to give you guys an update on what's happening and what's going on. First and foremost, everything that we talk about today is not considered legal advice. I'm a lot of things, and attorney is not one of them. I'm giving you a better business practice for your investment property is my goal. For those of you that are just joining us and have never joined us before, hi, my name is Patty Widget. I'm a real estate broker. I teach for 11 different apartment associations as a keynote speaker. I'm a lot of things. I'm not an attorney. Everything that I tell you is not considered legal advice. Now that I've said that, disclosed that, got that off my plate. How's everybody doing today? Are you ready for the wind to blow? Because it's blowing. Chances of Senate Bill 91 being extended are high. Don't know at this point, and I'm heavily involved with legislation. And I'll leave my statement at that. Sorry, guys, I'm still letting people in, and it's my fault. It was a late start today. So don't know yet if we're going to see Senate Bill 91 get extended till August 31st of this year, or if we're going to see something else come in place of it that pretty much does the same thing until August 31st of this year. There is an extension. Trust and believe it, folks. Okay. If they rewrite the extension the way that I want them to, and I know this sounds ridiculous, so just work with me. Yes, it did get extended. Something got extended. At this point, they have the option of extending Senate Bill 91. I'm letting people in. Sorry, guys. They have the option of extending Senate Bill 91 to end of August. And just to let you know, the target date right now, the target date legislation is looking for is the end of August to extend the tenant protections to the end of August. They're going to do that one of two ways. Sorry, folks, I'm still letting people in. They're going to do that one or two ways of extending what currently governs us, which is Senate Bill 91. They're either going to extend the protected period of Senate Bill 91, or they're going to implement a new Senate bill, Assembly bill that will most likely do the same things. It may offer a little bit more definition because as we go, we're getting things more defined. Or they'll put in a new Senate bill, Assembly bill that will protect us at least until August 31st. Again, for those of you that have been following me, I have always said, if this ends on June 30th, I'll be shocked and amazed, you guys. The date we want to hit for is going to be January 1st. And the reason I say that is just because I kind of see what I think is going to happen. We're getting more and more monies wanting to be paid by the governor. I'll leave my statement as to why out of that because it's political. But now our governor, now that he has enough votes to be recalled, he's trying to backpedal and actually help the other side of the fence, so to speak, so he doesn't get recalled. I think, and this is just a personal opinion, it's neither here nor there, but I think his aunt, Nancy Pelosi, would be extremely upset if he got burned at the stake, so to speak. So I think there's a lot of backpedaling going on there. We may see that he's switching sides of the fence or trying to do things differently. He's also offered that they would pay everything that they could. We're seeing that the payment is coming out for low income tenants and not the high income tenants. We're seeing that tenants aren't complying. They don't want the government in their business. It's becoming quite a challenge, especially for us single family owners. We're taking the brunt of this, you guys. We're not seeing the problems for the most part in multifamily dwellings. And they'll tell you, yeah, we only have one or two tenants in all of our properties that aren't paying. They're exercising their rights. That's all. But for the single family residents, that's where we're seeing the biggest eye for an eye and the biggest problem. They're the most impacted. Okay. And it makes sense as to why. You get somebody that wants to try to exercise their right or seriously having a problem, and all of that falls directly on the landlord. In multifamily, it does fall on the landlord, but if you have other tenants paying the rent and one that's not, it kind of offsets it, so that you can still function. When you get in a single family residence, it becomes an eye for an eye very quickly. We are seeing, Lee, this is being extended. I could tell you that right now. What I can't tell you is how. We don't know at this point if they're going to extend Senate Bill 91 to August 31st, or if they're going to implement a new Senate bill. I vote that they implement a new Senate bill, and I'll tell you why. One of the things that AGLA, the California Apartment Association, and everybody's lobbying for in these bills is that municipalities will not be able to implement their own COVID restrictions after the state expires. So they're trying to incorporate that in the bill so that individual cities can't come up with their own BS repayment rules, for lack of a better way to explain it. I'm fighting for that. When this is done, I want it to be done. I don't want the city of Glendora to then say, we're going to give them 6 months. And I don't want the city of Inglewood to say, we're going to give them 2 months. And I don't want Orange County, or I'm sorry, let me pick a city, not a county, the city of Tustin to say, we're going to give them 12 months. Quite frankly, it would be a nightmare for someone like me to try to remember each city's rules. It would also be a nightmare for a judge and an attorney to know each city's rules. And I don't think that they should come up with them based on by city. I think that it should be a state issued rule. Otherwise, it's going to become another convoluted nightmare. Okay, just saying. So I think that once the moratoriums ended, I'm sorry, the protected period that issued by the government has ended, that municipalities cannot make their own rules. That's how I feel. I think it should end right there and be done with it. Okay, just my opinion. For those of you that have been following in San Diego right now, I'm going to keep this real simple, and I'm going to answer your question in just a second, Lee, but let me give you guys what's going on in San Diego County right now. It's the entire county. Everything has been frozen. All evictions, all lockouts, all everything in San Diego County has been frozen. So even if you were a day away from a lockout in San Diego County and this new moratorium passed, they froze it. They froze your court case. If you have a writ of possession, you were waiting to go to the sheriff, that's all frozen. Everything got frozen, everything. So, and you got to watch out because they added a bunch of retaliatory issues in San Diego. So here's my theory in San Diego. Do not fart in that county. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Do not increase the tenant's rent. Do not serve any notices for any reason unless you talk to your legal counsel first. In San Diego County, period, end of report. They have just kind of went, okay? Don't do anything. It's not worth risking, okay? So in San Diego at this point, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. Do not pass go. They've lost their minds. I think it's just because they're so heavily populated, if that makes sense as to the why. And then I'm going to start with answering questions for you guys. So we talked about San Diego. Don't do anything in that area. In the event that you're somewhere else, know that it's going to be extended. Okay, Lee, so if this gets extended, will it apply to existing tenants having difficulty to pay or new tenants exercising a new right? Both, Lee, it applies to everyone. So could a tenant move in on July 1st and this be extended for 2 months as an example, and then July 2nd, they say, I have COVID or I've been affected by COVID. Could that happen? Absolutely. So it would apply to both new and existing tenants if they extend the protected period. A 10-year tenant is moving out. We will be doing a major remodel in LA City RSO. Can I increase more than 10%? What if the state of emergency is not in effect? Governor Newsom has said that even though the mask mandate is gone and that Disneyland is opening and we're opening, that the state of emergency is still in effect. Okay, it is still in effect and it will be for quite some time. My guess is the state of emergency is going to last at least 6 months. So Arlene, what can I do to help you? The key that you said there is you will be doing a major remodel. That's your key. So at that point, now you want to go to your legal counsel, your attorney, and you want to ask them, how much can I increase the rent? This is what we've spent on the remodel. And the reason that I'm telling you to go ask your attorney is very simple. They're the one that's going to save your butt in a courtroom. So you want to structure whatever they're willing to argue. You want to structure your increase, your business, whatever you're doing based on whatever your attorney is willing to argue in court. So what I mean by that is, in the event you get sued, you want to make sure that your backup plan, your legal counsel, the one that's going to protect your ass set in a courtroom, is okay with what you did. Does that make sense? So I understand what you're saying. Is that a possibility that you could raise more than 10% during a state of emergency? Yes, you could, but it all depends on what your attorney's willing to argue and what they're not. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you just do paint and carpet and think that's a major renovation, that's a normal flip, folks. Just so you know, paint and flooring is normal. We do that every time there's a vacancy. So we're talking about retrofitting. We're talking about repiping the inside of the house. We're talking about new cabinets, new flooring, upgraded systems. So you definitely want to talk to your legal counsel over what you can and can't do. Remember, California Penal Code 396 subparagraph B, which specifically talks about price gouging during a state of emergency and specifically mentions landlords. If you violate this, this is something that the tenant calls the cops and you go to jail for. Okay, it's not a lawsuit in a court of law. And I did talk to several cops and they did tell me they will most likely issue a ticket to the violator to appear in court at a later date and they won't go to jail right away. But you need to know that the fine is 6 months in jail and $10,000 per occurrence. Okay, it could be more than that, but that's the minimum. I don't look at an orange. I don't want to do anything that's going to cause me to get into a legal battle. LARSO, I believe, has vacancy decontrol, okay, in their LARSO ordinance. So you can only increase rents based on the LARSO's restriction unless your attorney is willing to argue more based on a major renovation. And I hope that answered that question. Yes, it did, because we're moving. Where is there a list of retaliatory, of actions that are considered retaliatory? Senate Bill 91 has 2 pages of retaliatory issues in the new Senate bill. So anything that has to do with COVID at this point, you will find there. As far as other retaliation issues, it depends on what's going on and what's happening. So if you terminate tenancy without cause and your tenant had bed bugs within the last 6 months, non-COVID, of course, that's considered retaliatory. Them calling code enforcement or fair housing or hiring legal counsel, and then you doing something after they do that, that might be considered retaliation. So need to be very careful about what's considered retaliatory. Your attorney should be able to help assist you with that. My tenant hasn't returned the last 2 declarations. I have a feeling he wants me to file an eviction. He probably knows the courts are backed up. You're probably right. Technically, if he didn't turn in those declarations, you can file an eviction and you're most likely that's going to go through. In the beginning of the pandemic, judges were allowing tenants to sign the declaration in the courtroom. Now that, and we saw that quite a bit in the beginning, basically with the tenant saying, I didn't know I had to do that every month, and the court would side with it. We're not seeing that now. We're seeing the court side with the landlords now. Okay, so we saw a little bit of a change there. I'm sure he wants you to file an eviction. He knows the courts are backed up, but if you're not getting your money and he's not returning declarations, I'd be talking to your legal counsel at this point. Unless you want to pay him cash for keys and avoid the legal system, you're going to have to get into it at some point. So you may want to think about that. If you have a good rock solid case, get involved in legal quickly if you can't resolve it on your own, because it's a long drawn out battle, and the quicker you get it started, the better off you'll be. Washington Post headline 1 hour ago: U.S. officials expected to extend the victim moratorium by 30 days as fears about renters mount. It's not going to be 30 days. I can tell you right now, it's going to be the end of August. And then if they extend it again, they extend it again. Again, I'm going to tell you guys, shoot for January 1, okay? It's just better. It'll make you not so frustrated when all the new extensions start coming out, because they're going to. And I don't mean to be a bubble burster and a dream crusher, but come on, you guys, we're 78% tenant occupied in the state of California. The majority vote is tenants, okay? We are the minority. So if we open our eyes and know that they're the majority, okay, we'll get less frustrated when the laws change in their favor. Do tenants vote? Do you want me to go there? Do you really want me to go there? Are we now importing voters? Just saying, kind of makes sense, right? If you can't get enough votes, you import voters, right? You let them over their wall, over our wall, let them into our country, give them benefits, give them money. Importing voters. From Karen, let me see this.
Yeah.
Karen, just ask me your question. I can hear you.
Yeah, because you know what? I didn't type it up right. Okay, with the new COVID extension, can I still serve the 30-day notice if I'm not don't want to extend their lease? It ends on July 31st. I can't.
If the protected period goes past that, you can't terminate tenancy.
Oh.
Don't panic on me, okay? Listen up. Listen up. If you leave them on a month to month, when the protected period's over and we can't possibly be sued for retaliatory issues, my guess is going to be 6 months after the protected pandemic period, then we should be able to do a non-renewal or a notice to terminate without cause and be able to continue to get them out that way. But
So,
end of term right now, you can't terminate tenancy.
okay.
And they're gonna extend it. Just know that, okay?
Okay.
We keep hearing about it, but we don't have the details. The reality is it's going to happen. We just don't know it to what extent yet.
So do they need to sign a new 30-day, a new month-to-month agreement then?
As long as they continue to pay you rent and reside in the property, and neither one of you has attempted to terminate the tenancy, that tenancy continues with those rules on a month-to-month basis.
So I don't have to put a month-to-month agreement in writing then, just leave the old lease in place.
Bingo.
Okay, all right. Okay.
All right. I saw another question come in. Illegals can't vote. You do understand that current legislation says that you must be a resident to vote here, but they are doing everything that they can to help the legal immigrants become residents as quickly as possible. They do want them to have employment here, housing here. Okay, so they are importing voters. You look at it however you want to. But yeah, we opened up our borders. We gave them a bunch of money. We told them we're great. Chances of them getting citizenship in this country are probably very high. Just saying. Remember, if something doesn't make sense, there's probably a government entity behind it somewhere trying to push a cart uphill with square wheels. Just saying. I know a lot of illegals and some residents from work, they don't care about voting mostly. Oh, I understand that as well. Some of them do, some of them don't. It is what it is. I think our legislation currently needs help. Okay. Yes, a lot of them do live hand to mouth. A lot of them do. I would agree with that statement wholeheartedly. A lot of single parents live hand to mouth. God knows I did for several years. As a single mom with 3 kids, it was a challenge, but I figured it out and I made it work. And I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it just depends on where legislation goes from here and what happens from here. I can tell you that I think it's all very convoluted and it's bureaucracy and bullshit at its finest. I can tell you how and why. Here comes Trump. He wants to help save our resources, okay? And he wants to build a wall. A lot of money, a lot of people spend a lot of money helping to build the wall. Here comes Biden and says, no, we're not having a wall. In fact, we're going to open our borders. We're going to give people that come into our country $1,500, tell them welcome, and a one-way bus ticket anywhere they want to go. We'll get them off and running. I have no doubt they may go for citizenship, etc., so that they continue to receive benefits available to them here in the United States. But here becomes me, okay? Practical little old blonde me. Because now, after 177 days of our borders being completely open and our current government not addressing the problem at the border, because it did create a problem, in my personal opinion, we are importing human trafficking victims. Okay, that's how I see it. It's disgusting what's happening, but they didn't even address it. And then when they did address it, they said, if you're planning on coming to our borders, don't. They didn't say you can't. They just said don't. Okay, deep breath. If we want to stop illegal immigrants from utilizing our resources, then start at the easiest place there is. Start at housing. Currently, immigrational status is a protected class in the state of California. In the event our legislation took that away and said, no, it is not a protected class and you can discriminate against legal citizenship in the state, then us as property managers and landlords could simply say, I'm sorry, I can't rent to you. You're not a citizen of the US. If they had nowhere to live, they probably wouldn't stay. Just saying. Okay. How much money would that cost our taxpayers? Zero. Okay. So I'm just saying, it could be as simple as changing a law, but it's so convoluted with bureaucracy and bullshit currently that they're too busy poking each other in the eye and throwing mud at each other that they forgot about we the people. Now we're suffering from their mud flinging, and I find it frustrating. And I'll leave my statement at that because I don't want to get political on here. I get that everybody has a different political view. I understand it. But here's what I don't understand. I'm an independent landlord. I am now losing my asset, if you will, because the government came in and took the written terms of my rental contract and changed the date of when my rent is due. And now I'm past a notice of default with my lender, and I'm looking in the face of a notice of trustee sale, and there's no end in sight. Okay. I never thought that the government could control my written legal rental contract, but they did. So I've been sadly mistaken for several years because I didn't realize that they had that kind of power. Okay. Now I'm hurting because they implemented governmental powers and they're not doing anything to help me because my tenant still refuses to apply for whatever assistance. Don't get me started, you guys. I will start ranting. You have no idea. Okay, hold on. We got lots of questions here. Lee, I paid $5,000 to have a single family residence totally repainted. Sherwin-Williams, top of tenants moving out after 12-month rent. 12 months. If the walls are scuffed and scratched, then that's considered damage. They're responsible for 24 months. The reason I say that is the life on paint is 3 years, according to California Department of Consumer Affairs. Therefore, I would break their tenancy down in months. 36 months is what can be charged for. So I would take the cost of the paint being $5,000, divide that by 36 months. I have the monthly rate, and I can't charge them for the 12 months they live there, but I can charge them for the 24 months that is the lifespan on paint. Okay, anchor bolt holes are considered mounted TV holes. That's considered damage. You can charge them to patch and then paint the entire wall. My lease specifically excludes tenants from using nails or fasteners in any form, then that's damage. This and therefore should be considered damage, correct? Yes. I have $5,000 receipt dated 1 week prior to the tenant move-in date last year. My painter states that he cannot always touch up, and in some cases, the full wall, but not adjacent walls, will need to be repainted to restore to prior condition. Can you please clarify these issues? Lee, I hope I answered those all as I went down my list. Could you charge a tenant just to paint one wall because of damage? Absolutely. Can you charge a tenant to paint a whole room because they painted without written consent of the landlord? Absolutely. It all depends on what your lease says or what you're trying to do. Tenant is moving out of state. Okay, pay attention for this, you guys. Her husband died of COVID, not in our rental house. I told her verbally that she did not need to give me a 30-day notice, and that she could just move out when she could. She just told me she's leaving tomorrow. I wasn't planning to refund any of June rent, but do I need to refund a few days here? Leaning towards not, as we're planning to sell versus rent. You told her she didn't need to give you a 30-day notice. So by you doing that, she doesn't need to pay the rent through the end of the month. She only owes daily rent to the day she vacates. So in the event you owe her something back, give it back. It's not worth it to have a debate in the middle of the COVID pandemic. So if you verbally told her that she didn't have to give you a 30-day, technically whatever day she hands you the keys, you owe her a refund if she prepaid for the rent. Also, please take note, you guys, as a reminder, Senate Bill 91 clearly states that we cannot put rents owed during the protected period of the pandemic on the disposition of security deposit. The only way to have any recourse for rents paid, not paid during the protected period of the pandemic is small claims. You cannot put them on a disposition of security deposit. It is considered retaliatory under the bill, and you could get fined $2,500 or more. So be careful with that. Just trying to give you guys a reminder. Don't put any rents owed during the pandemic on a disposition, okay? You can't. Don't do it. If the tenant says you can take my rent out of my deposit, you need it in writing. And when I say in writing, I mean with a pen and ink in a piece of paper, not in a text or an email. That doesn't constitute writing in the eyes of the court. But it will be used against you. Trust and believe that. Sorry, I'm a little feisty today. It's Wednesday. Got some new news coming out by Friday for our When the Wind Blows, just so you guys have a heads up. I know I didn't do one last week, and I was hoping that I would have more solid answers from our legislation on the extension of Senate Bill 91 and what they're doing. I did not, therefore I did not report. I will have them by this Friday. I was hoping I'd have them today. We're all starting to hear eviction protection period extended in LA. Well, the reality is it's going to be extended across the state, okay? Not just LA. So know that as a fact. We don't know what it is yet. It's being kept under tight lips and closed doors. So we don't know if they're going to extend Senate Bill 91 until August 30th, 31st of this year, or if they're going to implement a new Senate bill, Assembly bill. Again, I vote for the new one. I do not want municipalities to have the power to implement their own repayment terms or tenant protections because of the COVID pandemic. Okay. I don't want that. It will make my life a nightmare. Literally. I saw another question come through. Let me see if I can get to it. And then April, if you're with us, I'm going to ask for an update on funds shortly. So bear with me. Okay, here we go. Oh, hold on. There's a lot of questions that came through that I missed. Whoa. Those with no documentation would get a cosigner that has all required documents to rent. But what I'm saying, Rosanna, is if they change the law so that we could discriminate, we don't have to have a cosigner. We could just say we can't rent to you because you're not a citizen. It would be that simple. We don't have to say anything else. We don't have to allow a cosigner. We don't have to, that's what I mean. How many millions of dollars was spent trying to build a wall, and how many millions of dollars has been spent by removing and opening our borders versus change the law, let us do it for you. We won't have this problem. That's what I mean about everything becoming so convoluted. We need to reboot and reload with a simple structure that works instead of all of this mudflinging, in my opinion. In the city of LA, we have inherited a tenant who's a veteran and also had Section 8 support until he lost it this year due to non-compliance. Tenant did not complete the paperwork in time. We are getting nowhere with this caseworker at setup on a second, who apparently are the voice for the VA and the veteran. And the tenant is ignoring step up on second, as well as the management of the building. He owes thousands in back rent. We've been told that the veterans get a healthy monthly amount from the VA. Any experience with your help, not particularly to evict, if we could evict. Have you talked to the VASH program, VASH? Because that's Section 8 through the Department of Veterans Affairs. And I would see if I could apply and get him on the VASH program, or have a VASH worker work with him rather than Section 8. So if he came in under VASH, I would consider going back to VASH to help. Just so you guys know, VASH is the Veterans Assisted Supplemental Housing Program. It's basically Section 8 for veterans, but they do a lot more hands-on case management with VASH than they do with Section 8 because of the PTSD and some of the other challenges our soldiers and veterans deal with on a daily. So I would reach out to VASH Section 8 and see if they can help. If they can't help and you're not getting anywhere, just keep saying, my other option is to evict. My other option is to evict. Is eviction still possible for a nuisance? Absolutely. Thank you, April. I'm going to ask you for a money update. Just let me get through the last 3 questions here. Can I charge a tenant for patching and painting boatloads of small picture nail holes throughout living here? Yes, absolutely. Did you give them permission to do that? If you didn't, then you can paint the entire wall accordingly. In San Bernardino, is eviction still possible for nuisance? Yes, absolutely. Here's my rule right now. In LA County, know that it's going to be a long, drawn out battle. In San Diego County, you don't even fart in there right now because you can't do nothing. Don't serve a notice. Don't do nothing in San Diego County. In LA County, LA City, don't do anything until you talk to your legal counsel. In LA County, know that it's a long, drawn out process. I believe that VASH is managed by Step Up Second. It could be, but last time I checked, VASH was actually governed by Section 8. So reach out to VASH, see if they can help, just because they're more familiar with the disabilities that affect our veterans. And you're looking for help, not necessarily to evict. So that being said to me, I'm looking for those resources. You may also want to reach out not only to VASH, but Adult Protective Services, because in the event that he has some kind of mental issue going on from his service, if you will, they are more qualified and geared to help assist with that type of challenges and disabilities that our veterans are faced with. That's why I'm asking you to reach there. They may step in and grab the ball and run with it just so that you don't evict. You may get a lot more answers very quickly. Okay. And unfortunately, you may have to evict, but at least you're trying. And I commend you for that. Because if you have a good tenant, you guys, for the most part, and they fall down, help them. We all fall down. We're human. I fall down too. Sometimes a total face plant. Tenant removed all of my backyard landscaping. If you didn't give them permission, then that would be considered damage. And replanted with delicate wildflowers without prior written consent. What can I charge a tenant for? Putting it back the way that it was prior to them moving in. If you didn't give them permission to do it, Lee, they can't. Okay, one more, April, and then I'll come. Are you ready? Can you talk for a minute? In the city of LA, which database is evictions reported for and how long? Who can see eviction records? Where is small claims reported and how long? Teresa, love, are you sitting down, honey? Because I'm about to, I was going to use a very bad comment. I'm going to pee in your Cheerios. 2017, I believe, and don't quote me to the date, it could be 2018. It was either 2018 or 2017, the eviction masking law was passed, stating very clearly that from the date of filing the eviction case to the date of judgment, if the case lasts less than 60 days, then, and only then, would the eviction show on the tenant's credit report. If it goes over 60 days, it's automatically sealed and nothing will ever show on the tenant's credit report. And that's the tenant eviction masking law. And I want to say it happened in either it happened January 1st of either 2017. No, I want to say it was 18 or 19, not 17, 18 or 19, eviction masking law. So just so everybody knows, evictions no longer show on tenants' credit reports. Don't shoot the messenger. And if you do see an eviction that shows up on a tenant's credit report, know that this happened. The tenant didn't think you were serious. They got served the notice and then they moved out quietly and didn't fight you. Those are the people that show that they have an eviction on their credit, and the people that fight you, rake you over the coals, contact BASTA, drag it out over 12 months, their record's sealed. April, could you give us a financial update, please, on applying for funds for those of us that still have delinquencies? Are we seeing that there's still funding available out there?
Yes, I received 2 more approvals this week.
Just so everybody knows, are you up at 80,000 or are you into 90,000 now?
I think it's close to 90.
Okay, so just so you guys know, the company April works for had a $90,000 delinquency during the COVID pandemic. $90,000. April, how much are you delinquent today?
I want to say about maybe 8,000.
8,000. Doesn't take a genius to figure out this girl knows how to chase the money, folks. So if money is something that you're needing to chase, she's definitely somebody you want to listen to. April, are we seeing funds from the Housing is Key yet?
Yes, they are actually processing them a lot quicker this week. I recently went on to our account and they changed the status from application submitted to application processing, or they've also changed it to payment approved. So if it says payment approved, that means there's a case manager assigned and you're going to get your money in a couple weeks, probably 2 weeks the most.
Okay, good. That makes us breathe. And are we seeing more of the funds being distributed through municipalities and church programs and things along those lines as well?
I didn't go that route because most of those routes, the tenants have to actually apply for those on their own because some of them do require proof and some of them don't. I didn't reach out that way because they're not offering too much funds for the landlords. I just felt that housingiskey.com offered more compensation for the landlords.
Okay, and now we're seeing the lower income housing may get 100% of their rent paid instead of the 80%. So we're seeing that for lower income housing, lower income tenants. So definitely if you're on the lower spectrum of that, you have a better chance of recuperating your expenses and your losses. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, and I do have the tenants questioning me about that. The ones that have already been assisted with the 80%. I pretty much need to research that further, but they're already asking why they didn't receive 100%. But I don't have an
in the beginning, the tenants were going to receive, or the landlords would receive 80% and we had to forgive the other 20.
Right.
Now they're really trying to help us as landlords. They do see that there is a problem. They are seeing the issues that we've been telling them about since this pandemic started. They are starting to see that happening. So what we warned them about is what has come about. If you take somebody that likes to leverage the system and make sure they're exercising their rights, please know that they will have that problem addressed. I see lots of questions coming in.
I've seen them right now.
And they're like, I'm like, okay, hold on. Because I got to find out if they're for me or if they're from April. And just so you guys know, landlord tenant debt during a small claims battle no longer shows on tenants' credit reports either. So landlord tenant debt is not reported on a credit report. So for those of us that are looking for evictions and landlord tenant debt on a credit report, and we're like, oh, this tenant doesn't have any, they meet my criteria. You could be sadly mistaken. The rules have changed. Be careful. Housingiskey.com. Let me see. I requested ACH. They do not have my banking info. Will they ask for it? April, can you answer that one?
Yes. So once everything is processed, you will receive an email from the caseworker, but you will also get an email from bill.com. Bill.com will ask you for your banking information, and that's where you're going to receive the payment. You can track your payment. It usually only takes 3 business days for you to receive the payment after you've been contacted by bill.com.
Okay, and then we have another question regarding Housing is Key. Their tenant went on today to apply and said it was closed. What city are you in, Melanie? Because is it HDICLA that is completely out of funds?
Yes.
I want to say it's HDICLA. And they are completely out of funds. Okay, Melanie. So what's happening is, and I'll give you an example. They distributed the $6.4 billion or however much they were going to help landlords with, okay, to individual cities. Example, city of Los Angeles, city of this, city of that, city of San Diego, to try to help put those funds closer to us as landlords, okay? And then they're letting the municipalities distribute the funds. HDICLA ran out of money faster than San Diego. So now what they're trying to do is take the funds that weren't used in San Diego and get them back to HDICLA. So in other words, when they distributed, they didn't calculate properly, and they're trying to redistribute those funds so that they can help. But until they do that, HDICLA is out of money, and you may want to utilize other resources to recoup your losses. I know that there's all kinds of programs about for tenants, and sometimes it's a little challenging to find them. Sometimes it's a little easier. Rent relief for tenant, and April's got the right attitude. She's chasing the money, and the money's there for the tenants and benefiting the tenants. Stop Google searching for landlord assistance. It doesn't exist. Look for tenant assistance, okay? Because if they're going to help the tenant, that is helping you. Right, April?
Correct.
Okay, so is it a little easier to find assistance through things that are advertised as tenant rent assistance versus landlord rent assistance? I would say probably, most likely.
Yes. Yes.
And April agrees. And I commend you, April. 80 grand during a pandemic, and she found it. She's holding it. Okay, that's insane. So if you guys have money questions for April, please ask her why we have her. And we are extremely grateful to have her on Widget's Way because she keeps us in the know where it counts the most. So if anybody has a question about money, about funds, about what you can do now, I would wait if I was HDICLA, or I would reach out to other programs that offer tenant assistance. Not necessarily landlord assistance. Remind you, if they're helping the tenant, who are they helping? Let them think they're helping the tenant, but who are they really helping? Us. Okay, let's be honest. So, and I know that April's done a lot of applying for her tenants and done a lot of hands-on to go after this money and trying to help keep it all together. So she's actually done some applying for the tenants on the tenants' behalf. Yes, April?
Yes. Yes. A lot of them couldn't figure out how to submit documents. I got on my on-site managers and I asked them to get on their computers and for them to sit outside in the courtyard with masks on and sit there and help them submit their applications. Because once they submit things and you hear back, you only have about 3 to 4 days to respond. And after that, they move on to the next one. I'm not saying that they're gonna totally turn you away, but they will basically put you at the bottom of the shuffle.
We don't want to be at the bottom of the shuffle because this shuffle sucks, folks. Okay, does anybody else have anything for me? Otherwise, you can bet you will hear an update on our Friday forecast, just because I expect to know within the next 48 hours whether they're extending Senate bill or we have a new bill to learn. My guess is we're going to have a new bill to learn, because isn't that the way this has been going all the way through? I mean, come on, you guys. It's been one challenge after another. So I have no doubt we're going to have a new bill that we're going to have to learn. Hopefully they don't allow municipalities to continue to extend this. I see that as a giant mess, because I'm not the only one that has to learn what each individual city's rules are. So does your attorney, so do the judges, so does this, so does that. It's just nightmare. Okay, we don't need that. So in San Diego, don't do anything. If you have rents that are owed, don't put them on a disposition of security deposit. That's not where you can collect that unless the tenant has put it with a pin on a piece of paper and their signature and the date that you can use that out of their deposit. Don't do it. It comes with retaliation fines defined in Senate Bill 91. And that's a whole 47-page bill of new rules that are going to expire here in a very rapid fashion. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with, you guys. But no, for the most part, it's going to benefit the tenant. Okay, they're the majority. So if you're in this business because you're looking for constant, you're doing a great job. You're not going to find that here in property management. Usually people tell us all their problems and not when we're doing a great job for them. So remember that. Try not to get too upset when it happens. You've been warned. They don't tell us about sunshine and roses in their lives, even when landlords are calling us to manage their property. They're calling us because they have a problem. Okay, everybody calls us with their problems. Nobody calls us to tell us you're doing a great job. So let me do it for you. Congratulations. We've almost completely made it through our first pandemic as property managers during our lifetime. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. It'll be a little rocky for a while. We'll see a lot of case law come out of this. And in the event we end up in another pandemic, we'll know exactly what we're up against. All right, if nobody has anything else for me, and I'm just going to double check. No, housing is key is state of California. It's the way they're implementing the funds. And like I said, they give it to a lot of municipalities. And the city of LA is the most heavily populated. It ran out of money first. Hopefully we get some of the funds that went to San Diego that aren't being utilized. Who is neighborly? Do you mean as far as cities that are landlord friendly? Is that what you're asking me?
Talking about the portal. So once you go to housingiskey.com, you receive all your notifications through the neighborly site. So that's their portal. And you have to submit all your documents on that site.
Did that answer your question? I'm just making sure because I want to, yeah, okay, good. Good job, April. See, I'm like, April, you go chase the money. I'll worry about everything else. I can't do both. I have a little blonde brain. I can't
Patty,
do everything.
I just want to let people know when they receive notifications through Neighborly, it tells them to complete a task. Most of the time when you're about to be paid, it's going to ask you to re-sign the application to confirm that you want the money. So you have to go in there into your application portion, and they're not going to give you any type of instructions. So when you get that email, log in, go to the submit button, which is on the left-hand side, and that's where the signature needs to be re-signed. And then you just submit it. And then you have to go back and put task completed. If you don't put task completed, it doesn't go back to the caseworker that you completed it. And then you're still waiting for an answer.
Okay, and a lot of questions just came through all for you, April. And now you guys understand why I said I need somebody to handle the money side of this, because it's got a lot of moving parts too. Oh,
Okay.
thank you for all your information, April. I was
You're
supposed to
welcome.
sign my name electronically or my email address as a signature. I applied this morning.
It should have asked you to sign electronically. So once everything is processed, like pretty much the last step you need to do is re-sign your application, but that's going to come, I would say, probably 2 to 3 months down the line after you apply.
I have a question. When you originally applied, does it say anything about terminating the tenancy from so many days from this date of this application?
I know that you have to agree not to evict them.
Okay.
But I can go back and read that.
Hence why, and this is just me thinking outside the box, you guys, hence why they want you to go back in and sign that application a second time, because that may start the date of when you can't evict going forward. Just trying to think outside the box, okay? Because remember, you guys applied and signed these how many months ago? They want to make sure that you're not going to evict going forward. So when you're re-signing that application, chances are that's what you're agreeing to, is that you will not evict them going forward.
So
Does anybody
Patty,
have any? Oh, go ahead.
Patty, Kiss Karen.
Yes.
Listen, I just want to make sure that I understand I can't do the lease, the paperwork for not extending the lease. You said it goes to month to month. So all of this is verbal. I just want to make sure, right? The month to month will be verbal. No, nothing in writing, right?
I'm gonna make this as simple as I can for you.
Okay,
You currently have a lease contract in place that expires on a specific day.
July 31st.
If the tenant continues to pay rent and stay in the property and neither one of you terminate the tenancy, then it continues based on that agreement,
Mm-hmm.
and those are the rules.
Okay,
Okay?
okay. That's the tenant that's paying however the heck she wanted that we talked about during this pandemic.
Well, I would talk
And I
to
didn't
your,
do verbal. And I mean, I did it verbal. I didn't put it in writing. So she just pays as she wants, but she has been coming through.
I got you, and I understand what you're saying, but if you put her in another term, you're agreeing to rent to her for another year. In the event you don't put her in another term and you want to terminate tenancy without cause after the protected period of the pandemic is over, a month to month will allow you to do that. A term will not.
Okay, okay, I understand that. It wouldn't be a term lease, so not again.
It's a month, it automatically goes to a month to month.
Okay.
If they stay there and neither party terminates, it automatically goes to a month to month.
Now,
It's
what if
called
it-
a holdover. Just so you
Okay.
know, the legal term is a
Uh-huh.
holdover tenant. Anytime a tenant stays more than they should, according to the written rental contracts, it's considered a holdover.
So what if this goes past the year there?
They're on a
They're in
month
a
to
lease for a
month,
year, huh?
they're on a month to month
A month to month.
agreement, and
Mhm.
your written terms of your rental contract still apply.
Okay, all right. We'll get there when we get there then. I'll leave it alone.
I know it sounds scary because everybody's always been lease term, lease term, lease term. But trust me, those rules still apply as long as everybody stays there and it keeps going.
Okay, all right,
Called
Thank
a holdover tenant, just so you know the legal term.
all righty. Thank you.
All right, you guys have a wonderful weekend. You will get a Friday update from me. Yes, thank you to April, our money guru.
You're
She
welcome,
has
everyone.
it's nice to hear that there is money out there. People can collect it. It is being collected. I know some of us are extremely frustrated at the process, and we really appreciate your insight and your knowledge in regards to chasing money. Thank you, everybody. I couldn't do this without you guys. I love being able to keep you in the know and trying to prepare you for what's happening in legislation. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will most definitely be on with a Friday forecast because we're going to have something new coming on, and definitely back next week. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay cool, everybody, and we'll talk soon, I'm sure. Bye-bye.